Hello everyone, this is the lesson from Module 62. This is your Tuesday night homework, due back on Wednesday. This will be a short video, this is a short module. Now that we've talked about what is intelligence and how to assess it, we're going to talk a little bit about intelligence over the lifespan, as well as extremes of intelligence, like those with very low or very high intelligence. So first off, does intelligence change? Within a given person, all else being equal, will intelligence change over the course of his or her life? In order to test this, we have to introduce two new important types of research studies: cross-sectional and longitudinal. A cross-sectional study is one that takes place at a given point in time. Let's say I'm a researcher, it is 2017, I want this study to be all done within 1 year, so I am going to study I'm going to take 5-year-olds. So I'm going to take do random sampling, right? I'll take a random sampled group of 5-year-olds. I'll take 10-year-olds. I'll take 15-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 40-year-olds, and 50-year-olds. Let's say I'll have 6 different groups, and from 6 different age groups, ranging from 5 to 50, and I give them all a certain test, whether it be an intelligence test or any other type. For this experiment, for this study, we'll say it's an intelligence test. So cross-sectionally, I would then compare the intelligence scores of the 5-year-olds to the 15-year-olds to the 60-year-olds and see if there's a difference. If you look here at this orange line, when you do that, it suggests that intelligence declines, right? The reasoning ability, the scores are higher for someone who's 25 as opposed to 50 as opposed to 75. As opposed to doing it via a longitudinal study. Longitudinal, the first 4 letters there are long. It's a study that takes a very long time because you're using the exact same people. So the advantage of it is that you minimize conflating variables. You're using the exact same people, so you can't say, oh, maybe just by fluke the 30-year-olds were smarter than the 20-year-olds to begin with, because here it's the exact same people. The big disadvantage, of course, is that you have to now wait 10, 20, 30, sometimes 40 years to complete the study. Some researchers spend their entire career on one study. Of course, they do other things in the meantime. But they're spending their entire career on one study. They started with people when they were 10 years old, and then when the research is about to retire, those people might be 40 years old, and they can do a study on how they changed over time. So when you do that for intelligence test, there's some more stability. So we don't really know which measure a type of study is better, but we do know from a combination of other research that intelligence is relatively stable. But we need to get more specific because there's different types of intelligence, as we've been learning. We're going to learn about 2 new subcategories of intelligence. All right, so if we just talk about intelligence in general, we could say it's relatively stable throughout life, maybe even goes up a little bit. But now, let's talk about 2 different types of intelligence: crystallized versus fluid intelligence. Crystallized intelligence is our accumulated knowledge and verbal skills. Everything we know, every factoid, every random piece of trivia, every piece of information, everything we know, that tends to increase with age. And that makes sense, right? Because the more years you live, the more knowledge you'll accumulate. The better you'll be at Jeopardy or at a game show, or just at a test that asks you information about a wide array of different topics or subjects. So that increases throughout the life. Crystallized intelligence is going to steady increase throughout life. Fluid intelligence is just the opposite. That decreases. Fluid intelligence is our ability to reason speedily and abstractly. To be able to be given new information that we have never seen before, and do something with it, whether solve a problem with it or apply it to a new situation. That ability decreases over the course of life, and that makes sense as well. Our memory, our speed, our response time, all that goes down as we get older, and the brain gets kind of a little worn out. So when you think of crystal, think of like something hard, something that's stuck in your brain for life, a piece of information. Fluid is the ability to react quickly to new situations and learn new things on the spot. That ability decreases over time, but the accumulated amount of knowledge, the crystallized intelligence, continues to increase with age. So here we have here we have a very interesting correlation, but let's warn ourselves again that correlation does not equal causation. We have a correlation here between this study was done with women, but presumably it would be similar with men, between a woman's IQ and their longevity. Women who are in the top 25 percentile, more than 70% of them live past 70. Women who are in the lowest 25 percentile of IQ, less than 50% of them are living past like 70, 72. So you could say high intelligence, encourages healthy living, but you could also say that healthy living, having a good diet, fosters the learning necessary to have the education and intelligence in the first place. And of course, there could be third variables like prenatal events, genetics could play a factor. So this is just another lesson that correlation does not equal, right? Let's say does not equal causation. All right. Sorry for the sloppiness there. So intellectual disability is the new scientific term for what was previously called mental retardation. For a variety of reasons, we don't use that term anymore. So the new term is intellectual disability, which refers to anyone who has an intelligence score 70 or below and difficulty adapting to the demands of life. So as we know, that's about 2 standard deviations below the mean, right? The mean of an intelligence test is always 100. Minus 1 z-score would be 85, minus 2 would be 70. And as we also know that about 2% of people, a little bit more, 2.1%, fall in that range, right? 98% of people will have an IQ of 70 or higher, 2% will be below that. Down syndrome, not everyone who has an intellectual disability has Down syndrome, but almost everyone who has Down syndrome will fall in this 70 or below category. It's a condition of mild to severe intellectual disability caused by an extra copy of the 21st chromosome. As we discussed previously, it doesn't mean that that person is unintelligent in all areas. Their intelligence is below 70 on traditional tests, but perhaps they are very good. They may have some savant-like qualities. They may be very good at art or very good at some other activity. There's been a big push in education to mainstream as many students as possible. I mean, students who have intellectual or emotional disabilities, we want to try to put them with other students who do not have disabilities. It tends to make everyone learn better. On the high extreme, there's a whole controversy with gifted and talented classes, whether they're really beneficial or not. Many times there's bias involved, and there's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you're labeled as gifted, you're more likely to be influenced or treated in such a way where you become gifted. And if you're told at a very young age you're not gifted, then you may be on a lifelong track of not being in AP courses, not being in advanced courses, and that becomes reality. Whereas if we put some of those 5-year-olds who maybe didn't stick out to our eyes, if we gave them the same opportunity, they may have become gifted too. And it's especially controversial and problematic because many times it's minority and low-income youth that are often get the short end of the stick and are put in lower classes. Maybe not because the people are being intentionally prejudiced or racist, but for whatever reason they don't stand out as being more intelligent when they very well might be. We will discuss that a lot more over the last couple days of this week.